Essentially, my purpose is to try to unlock people's potential, and that sounds very fluffy, but it is sort of, I thought I was avoiding people, but I want to be with people. I want to be able to educate and teach people and share them the knowledge that I have. And I use this through the Defence Limited brand, which is about self-defense training and education, and that's about empowering people to make them understand why self-defense is a life skill. It's not something that is a luxury. Unfortunately, crime is part of our daily life, and that's what I'm going to be going into a bit more detail later. I also do have something a bit more aspirational, inspirational, called Lifestyle Warrior, which is using a lot of my martial arts background and putting that into a personal development course or sort of a lifestyle as well. And that is something I'm going to be working on. And later on, which is quite personal to me because I was a victim of bullying when I was younger, something called Dads Against Bullying, which I hope unfortunately is something that's becoming a global phenomenon. There's more kids getting bullied these days than ever before. I was bullied at school, and I wouldn't want that to happen to my son, or I'm sure you guys wouldn't for your kids. So there's a little program that I want to put together. It's not about the physical stuff, but how to deal with it on a more mental and emotional level as well. And if it does get physical, yes, absolutely. Let's see how we can deal with physical. That's the easy part, believe it or not. So, a bit about myself. Yes, I have been quite a serial entrepreneur since I was young, but there was something that had stuck with me from a very early age. Being Asian, if you guys haven't noticed, I am Asian. I'm very stereotypical. I see John's taking a second glance there. Very stereotypical. Yes, I watched martial arts movies since I was young. And yes, I may have been born with some inbred martial arts skills. So I started martial arts since I was 8, but I only seriously took it up when I was 18. It was me at university when I could do a flying kick with my eyes closed. Right? I've also branched out into other martial arts that involve weapons and body armor. That is kendo, if you haven't noticed or haven't, if you don't know what it is. It's a Japanese sword-based martial art, full contact with bamboo swords, by the way, because you want your partner to be alive afterwards. And very fortunate enough, I've represented South Africa 6 times in international competitions all across the globe, from all the way to Brazil, Italy, Hungary, Japan. So I've been to quite a few countries just to represent South Africa. Everyone always asks me, what does it look like around the world in all these wonderful places? It looks the same. 4 walls of a dojo. It's quite boring actually. And for those people that know, I'm also a lightsaber enthusiast. If you do want to know the stats, I have about R250,000 worth of lightsabers in stock with me. And you do performances, these things glow, they hum, and they make kids feel like they're on top of the world, and big kids as well. But what the martial arts did teach me, though, is that it wasn't relevant for this day and age in what we call modern day. All right, so I got a bit more serious about my training, and I started going into what's called combatives, things that involved hand-to-hand combat. Okay, training with SAPS, with some international guys, going into weapons, specifically knives and what we call blades, or anything with a cutting edge. Firearm training, which includes things like a shotgun, rifles, semi-automatics, shotguns. So taking my training quite seriously, and even subjecting myself to being attacked by police attack dogs, just to see how you perform under that pressure. And a lot of the times, it's under that pressure, how would you perform? No training is worth its salt if you can't train under pressure. And that's what these attack dogs do. Lovely Labrador until his trainer tells him to attack. So my whole goal and my purpose in life is to do this, unlock the potential to live a fully engaged life. And over the course of the 10 years that I've been doing this, I've trained probably hundreds of people in various groups and corporates and everything else. I've had the privilege of meeting some wonderful people in the process. And as you can see from this picture, I've trained up to 300 people simultaneously, which is great. And it's a lot of fun, it's hard work, but it's very rewarding, and that's where I find my purpose as such. Some of the corporates that I've worked with in the past include some of the big brands that you might know. I'm not going to mention them, but I've also worked with a lot of private schools. Rodin being the top school of 2018, I was quite proud to have them as a client. Crawford schools, and if you don't know what that bottom one is, it's supposed to be very cryptic. It's the American International School in Johannesburg, right? The Americans, but they are a very prestigious school, right? So why do self-defense training and education? So I've used the stat before, and the stat is 1676. And this is the number of possibilities per day that you can become a victim of crime in South Africa. This is based on the SA stats last year, the crime stats, on the SAPS stats. Let's break that number down. This is how many times per day that you can become a victim of any what we call the big 6 crimes in South Africa. All right? Murder, hijacking, home breakings, rapes, robberies, and assaults. Okay? 1676 possibilities per day, every day in South Africa. So that is the scary stat that we have. So just to put it into context globally, where does South Africa sit in terms of its global safety or peace index? So this is an index based on three things: level of safety and security, extent of domestic and international conflict, and your degree of militarization. South Africa sits at 125th out of 163 countries of being the most peaceful country. Put it the other way, means we are the 39th most dangerous country in the world. All right? Don't worry, we're less dangerous than America. America, because of its high degree of militarization, has the biggest military. Okay, the safest place. Anyone want to take a guess?
It's Iceland.
Iceland. Iceland.
Well, it's too cold there. They can't do it.
It's actually also one.
You're most danger to yourself.
So, guys, we're going to take a quick look, and Malcolm, if I can ask you to hit the play button, and just to look at crime in a very, oops, you need to press the play there. This is a challenge I have. How fast, aggressive, and organized crime can be. Let's go. This was in Bedford View in 2007, and I want you to start climbing from now. Go. Okay, 4 men, armed to the teeth. Security guard tries to help. Guy shoots him. AK-47 guys get back in the car. I hope you're timing this. And they're off. And I want you to notice something very important. Look what car she's driving. It's not a high-value car. It's a Volkswagen. Okay, it's not a luxury car as such, but it is something which they use either for other crimes or use it for spare parts. In this case, my assumption is that they use it for carrying other crimes, maybe a cash in transit for a quick getaway. So, I hope you guys saw the nature of crime, and without the sound, it actually makes it a little bit more tame. But you need to understand the aggressiveness, how quick it is, how organized it is. Multiple attackers, weapons, and they have no consciousness if they take another life. They just shot at a security guard. Okay. So who needs self-defense? Is it people who have done martial arts? Say for instance, how about guys that have done combatants, sort of like a bit more aggressive type of version of it? Or how about law enforcement or military? These are the people that typically teach the martial art or teach self-defense training. But they're trying to teach a whole bunch of people like us, which is things like people that just want to have friends and family, want to grow, learn, have a career and do work. We have all these aspirations, and I'm not going to read through all of them, but we all have these dreams as such. We are the people that need the self-defense training, hence we do need self-defense training as an essential tool for life. And I have to tell you this, crime doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't care whether you're black, white, pink, green or purple. It doesn't care what color you are, it doesn't care about your age, your sexual orientation, whether you're male or female. Crime does not discriminate. So is anybody aware of this guy called Maslow, Abraham Maslow? He had a very interesting theory called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And right at the bottom were the basic needs, essentially the safety needs, which I'm looking at. Now, this talks about if your safety isn't secure, all those high levels of love and belonging, esteem and self-actualization will be impossible to attain. So, what does this tell us? Oh, very important as well, if the safety need isn't met, everything else breaks down, by the way. All right, and eventually what happens is just a life of despair. And you're stuck in a little lull because something traumatic happened to you. That's through active version, without proper treatment, of course. So in my courses, I do teach them very basic principles, which is awareness, alignment, and action. I don't have the time today to go through all of them, but there is one thing I want to go through with you. And it's the most important question that you'll hear in self-defense training. And if they don't ask you this, it's not worth your salts to go to that training course. The question is, what I call the primary question is, What are you willing to fight, die, and kill for? Everybody here has something that they would fight for? Anybody? Yes? You got an idea? All right. Is it something? Is it an ideal? Is it a belief? Would it be something like that? What about, would you be willing to die for that someone, something, or belief? Right? And then lastly, is there someone, something, or some belief that you would kill for? That's the important ones. These are the things you need to ask yourself when you're in a stable, calm, and logical state of mind to answer those questions, not when it happens. Make those logical decisions now, because what happens is you'll make emotional decisions at the time. So my target market, I have 3 very specific markets. Private groups and individuals that want to do self-defense training and have an interest in making sure they can proactively address their safety should anything happen. Educational institutions like schools and colleges, I'd love to meet with the principals and introduce it as a course. I've done it with a number of schools. And thirdly, corporates or small, medium enterprises. I have done a lot of corporate engagements, as you saw, and those are fun as team buildings, but it's also good for training, for instance, for sales staff that have to do anti-hijacking training. Some of the services that I offer, very quickly: group workshops, boardroom training sessions, team building events, keynote presentations, consultations, and private training as well. Lastly, the key phrases to listen for: self-defense, safety, crime and criminals, hijacking, break-ins, muggings, empowerment, team building, sales teams, or keynote presentations. My training both can be in the boardroom and it can be physical outside. So let me leave you guys with this last message. We have a philosophy at BNI, which is give us gains, but criminals have their own philosophies that criminals take. Guys, thank you very much. Be safe out there, and more importantly, be prepared. Thank you very much.